I am thrilled to see such turnout and energy at the first joint event of the Corridor 200 Republican Coalition Initiative, about which more in a few minutes. But first, please rise and join me in the invocation, and then Charles Dodge of On Top of the World Republican Club will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Almighty God, we thank you for the blessings of our lives, our families, our friendships, our fellowships. We ask that you continue to watch over us, to guide us, and to provide us with wisdom and courage and compassion. Amid all the turbulence, the deceptions, the disappointments, keep us clear-eyed and clear-headed, true to our best values. Please help and inspire us as we work together to keep this special and blessed country the land of the free and the home of the brave. Amen. Charles.
Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to rise, face the colors, and assist me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you advance? One minute. Commissioner Bryant, would you be so kind as to lead us in the national anthem?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Commissioner Bryant. Before I go any further, I wish to acknowledge and thank our two officers from the Sheriff's Office, Officer Gomez and Officer Mendoza. Thank you for being here. The Corridor 200 Republican Coalition Initiative is an independent political organization currently comprising 5 Republican groups in 5 communities around Route 200. We seek to speak with a louder voice about the issues and values we care about most. Building a coalition is hard. Well, building a coalition of sheep might be easy, but building a coalition of eagles is a challenge and takes persistence. I dare say that all that turned out for this event are eagles. And I would like to acknowledge the persistent people who are driving this initiative and work to make this event happen. Next slide, please. Firstly, Liz Woodard, the president of On Top of the World Republican Club. has been absolutely instrumental in organizing this event. Unfortunately, she took sick and is not able to join us today. I'm Joe Prohaska of Stone Creek. President of the Oak Run Republican Club is Pete Fraley. Next we have from Spruce Creek's Preserves, Vicki DeGrania. And Jim Pettis from Paul K. Republican. I do not need to explain to this audience the peril this country and its precious heritage is in right now. But never before has it been more essential for American patriots to pull together and stand up for what we love. As Dutch put it in the movie Predator, Dylan, we make a stand now, or there will be nobody left to get to the chopper. This event has cost a good chunk of change, and contributions for it are most welcome. There are convenient boxes around the theater if you care to help out to pay for this event and hopefully future events like this. I would like to turn it over now to Greg Ratliff to say more about the coalition and upcoming primaries. Greg, next slide, please.
Joe. It's great to see everyone here. Wow, it's our first organized event of all the multiple clubs coming together, and we really appreciate everybody showing up. As Joe said, right now we're talking 5 clubs, and we're actually looking at some of the other clubs as well. But the 5 clubs that he mentioned, you know, as a group, we represent probably close to 40,000 residents. And that's a lot of folks. Our thought when we first started getting together and talking was, you know what, let's get together and have breakfast. You know, and we were going to meet for an hour, and I think that turned into about 4 or 5 hours, and not only did we have breakfast, next thing we knew, they were serving lunch around us. But, you know, we decided that we wanted to get together and meet each other, learn from each other, share resources, and as we gel and become a bigger force, I think, you know, where we do have consensus, we would like to think that we can speak for our combined residents much more effectively maybe than we can individually. Joe, you took the clicker. Okay, next slide. No, one slide back. There we go. So one of the main reasons when we decided that we were going to have an August meeting was to talk about local politics, talk about how critical it is to get out and vote in the primaries. And I know myself, I've never really fully appreciated, I think, the primaries. I've always voted in the national elections since I got out of the Navy, but thank you. But you know, what I've learned is a lot of the local politics is decided during the primaries. And the way that the primaries work, if a candidate in the primary gets over 50% of the vote, then their name doesn't even show up. That's decided, and they're not showing up on the November election. So this is a sample ballot that you'll see, if you haven't already got a mail-in ballot, when you go to the polls, you'll see the positions that are on there that we'll get the vote for. On the left side over there is our congressional representative for District 3. The next one down is the Commissioner of Agriculture. And then on the bottom left-hand corner is the Marion County Commissioner position. There's, I guess, 5 districts. 2 of them are up this particular cycle. Kathy is one of our commissioners, but she's running unopposed. Great situation. The other one, there are an incumbent and some candidates that are there that you'll have an opportunity to vote for. In the center are the The county judges is actually 2 groups, and there's candidates running in each of those individual positions. And then on the right-hand side is the school board. The school board for Marion County consists of 5 people. There's 5 people on that school board. It just so happens that this particular cycle, 4 of the 5 positions are up to be voted for. And one of those is a school board member Thrower. She's running unopposed. So what you'll see when you go to the polls is 3 positions that you will be able to vote for, all 3 of those positions. Next slide, please. So the school board, some of you that's been to other forums have seen this slide before. I'll talk a little bit about the school board from my perspective and with some of the folks that I've been involved with. But this slide paints a very interesting picture. And we've all seen a whole lot of information about school boards on the news. And I'm not trying to say they're all the same, but this is kind of an interesting slide. The dotted line that starts on the far left over there, that shows the ranking per school digger, okay? And they rank all the school systems in all the states. For Florida, there's 69 school districts, and Marion County used to kind of be in the middle of the pack. They started slipping, and I want to go back and bring your attention to about 8-9 years ago. They were ranked, 58, 59, 60. So for the last 9 years, basically, Marion County Public Schools have been ranked from a performance by school digger between 58 and 62. That's the bottom 15% of the state, you know. And I think that's terrible, you know. And the other slide there that's got the bars, the steps that go up, that's the budget for Marion County Public School System. Okay, and you can see over the last 9 years that numbers went from what, $40 million up to over 800 million. Well, I've got the 2021-2022 school year results, and it doesn't get any better. The rankings for 2021-22, they actually came in ranked number 61, 58 to 62, right there, the same for the last 9 years, and the total budget was $905 million. A lot of money, a lot of money. One thing that's interesting, if you go back 8 years ago, there was a request to the citizens to pass a $1 mil tax increase for our personal property tax for the schools, for the children, and it was voted on and it was approved. So for 4 years, they received the benefit of that. After that 4 years expired, there was a request for another $1 mil tax increase, personal property increase, and that passed. And that expires now, and I'm not positive yet, but there was discussion about in November we'll see a request for a $1 mil tax increase. You know, and I was very concerned about that. So next slide, please. The school board, you know, I call them shortfalls. Everybody here can make their own opinion, but I think that academic achievement is absolutely the measurement that you're looking for your school board. And Marion County has consistently ranked in that last 15%. The other thing that you look at the budget, we've seen it's basically doubled over the last 8-9 years. And you know, we're not getting the academic achievement improvements that we need or that we would expect, that a school board should expect from the school system, in my opinion. Some of the things that they have done is they have significantly increased the administration staff. There's some of those things that, you know, revolve around school safety and many other things, but I don't think that additional monies, you know, should be focused on the administrative staff. I'd certainly like to see it go to students, go to schools, you know, teachers, those types of things. I talk about improper planning to alleviate, you know, the overcrowding. One of the things that was kind of interesting attending all these various forums and talking to people from the school board. They were talking about how crowded some of the schools are. Well, if they're that crowded, how come it hasn't been taken care of with all of that significant budget increase? And then the last thing I'll mention here is the partnership with the parents. You know, school boards, you've seen it on the news. You know, people go up and they get their 5 minutes to speak. And they get up and they talk for 5 minutes and then it's, okay, next. You know, and just life goes on. You know, and when you talk to school board folks and many people in academia today, their answer is, well, parents can go to the school board all they want, anytime they want. They're open to the public. They can even see them on the computer. And you can watch the proceedings. I tell you what, it's like going to Congress and watching the proceedings. You know, it really is. Next slide, please. I won't go into a lot of detail because I know I'm running over my time, but what would we like to see out of the school board? Kind of an opposite from what we've seen so far. One thing I didn't mention when I talked about the budget is something called consent budget. And I'm certainly no expert on that or a consent process, but talking to some members of the school board, you know, they talk about these huge expenditures in the millions of dollars. Behind the scenes, they get these things and they discuss them and they put them on a consent agenda. And then when they have the school board, it's kind of like a bill in Congress. You've got all of these pages and pages of stuff, and they just do it by everybody in favor of voting on consent bill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if 3 out of the 5 members say yes, it's passed. No discussion. You know, and I personally would like to see some sort of the school board develop some sort of minimum amount or maximum amount that you can't do that with. If it exceeds some monetary value, it needs to be discussed. So I have some real concerns about, you know, the school board right now. There's some of us that have been more involved looking at school board issues. I know that, you know, Joe Prohaska here and Pete Fraley from Oak Run, those 2 individuals have spent a good part of their life in the academic world or working around school systems, school boards. I haven't, but I've been exposed to a lot of different forms. I've had interaction with the various candidates on more than one occasion. Just about all the clubs have had school board candidates there. I've attended many of those. Out at the Republican Executive Committee, we've had the candidates out there. Some of the candidates that at least Pete, Joe, and I were looked upon most favorably, we've actually met with them, you know, together and said, hey, we'd like to understand your platform, where you're coming from, and where you think your agendas might overlap. Because if you get one person on the school board, it's not going to make a bit of difference. You get 2, it's probably not going to make a difference because you need 3 out of 5. So our approach was that, you know what, we want to find 3 candidates that we think will give us the best possibility of maybe changing the status quo when it comes to operating the school board. Joe, I mentioned he comes from an academic background, graduated from Stanford. He's got teaching certificates for teaching, math, biology, English is a second language, but he also spent 11 years teaching at something called a KIPP, Charter Public Middle School. And I didn't know anything about this. What I found out is that's called Knowledge is Power program, and it's a charter type of school that has a curriculum that's much more advanced, much more accelerated, and they consistently outperform most public school systems. Pete has spent most of his life in the facilities management world, but he actually spent probably over 20 years of that time working with the school systems in New Jersey and in New York. He had a lot of different jobs in the facility maintenance world, working for a lot of different school systems in and around that world for a long, long time. He actually was the director of facilities and planning for the fourth largest high school in all of New York. So that was a significant job. He had a lot of experience, but he also served on the Hamilton Township, New Jersey School Board for 3 years. So he was on one of those boards. He even served for 1 year as the president of that particular board. And the reason I go over those individuals is because those individuals and myself, we've kind of worked together to talk about the candidates and what they are going to do different if they were put on the school board. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of the things that were points that were takeaways for us in attending some of these meetings. And I'm not going to throw any candidate under the bus and tie their name to them, but some of the things that we heard was one of the candidates said something to the effect of, I think overall, we were talking about academic performance, the Marion County Public Schools are doing pretty good. If you're a teacher and you're in that environment and you're ranked in the bottom 15% in the state for 9 years and you think you're doing pretty good, I don't know what's going to change if somebody's on the school board like that. We talked about the budget at one of the meetings, one of the forums, and how it just seems out of control and how significant it was. We actually had one of the candidates say, well, you got to understand because Ocala's experienced some tremendous growth. So the students, there's so many more students. It's not true. I didn't point it out in that slide that we had earlier, but the actual student population over the last 9 years, it's been between roughly 42 and 43,000 students. It's increased like 1,300 students. Not significant at all. But if you've got that type of mindset, then I have concerns about how you would exercise financial responsibility and stewardship over my tax dollars as part of the school board. We had another candidate talk about parental involvement, and when you ask the candidates, what do you think about how important is that? Everybody says it's critical. Getting the parents involved is absolutely critical. It makes all the difference in the world. But then you look at how does that work? And we had some of the candidates just talking about how great the school boards are, and you know what? The parents can see them online, they can come. That's not the right vision for how you get parental involvement in my book. It used to be parents went to the schools, they talked with the principals, the administrators of those schools. There was a better connection there. When you tell them, go to some meeting downtown at the school board and you get 5 minutes to speak if you fill the little forms out, that's not the right way of making that connection. So, all of that involvement and, meeting them. I've had so many folks, and I know Joe and Pete have, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? And, we respect every single person in here. You've got the right to, you've heard many of these candidates, make your own decisions, vote for who you choose. We respect that, totally. Many of you have already voted. But on the other hand, Joe, Pete, and I, we feel like, there are 3 candidates that we think will give the school board the biggest opportunity to change the direction that they're headed on. So, next slide, please. So this is, again, from Pete, myself, and Joe. We've talked about our involvement. We recommend, well, one slide back. We recommend the 3 of us based on our involvement for our schools and our students. We support the S's. And when I talk about the S's, the 3 candidates that are running that we're putting our 2 cents behind is Steve Sweat, Taylor Smith, and Joe Serrani, the S's. Next slide. Regardless of how you vote, it's up to you. I think the most important thing is that you do vote, okay? August 23rd is the primaries. Local politics matter. So please, go to the polls, vote your conscience the way you decide to vote. Thank you all very much.
Thank Greg. Kathy Bryant is a woman of manifestly many talents, as you've already seen. She also happens to be one of our county commissioners, and we've asked her to make a few remarks about the importance of what we're doing here in the next couple of weeks. Kathy, come on up. Okay. Let me mention again that your contributions are welcomed in our conveniently located donation boxes throughout the theater. I present to you County Commissioner Kathy Bryant.
So if I'm being honest, I drank too much water on the way out. Anyway, it is so great to be in a room this large with so many Republicans. Give yourselves a great big round of applause. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to see everyone come together in order to get the vote out, because that's really what we're trying to do, right? We are trying to make sure that in November, we see what? A red wave. Oh, come on. And I think sometimes it gets a little lost on us because we live in Marion County. And for the most part, we're what? We're red. We are red. And with that said though, I look at it sometimes and I go, what? You know what? Being in Marion County and being as red as we are, we should be the shining star for the Republican Party of Florida. Is that not true? And that's why I think it's so very, very important to make sure that you're having these conversations with your friends and your family, and that you're saying, oh, it's not just the November election we need to get the vote out for. It's the August primaries we need to go get the vote out for, because there are some very important things happening in the August primaries, and we want to make sure that our voices are heard. We're Marion County. We put things on the map, right? How many times has our great governor and my new best friend, I'm just kind of kidding about the new best friend thing, but I did see him a couple times. Me and Ron, you know, we're just great friends. Thank you, Sheriff Woods. And hey, hold on a minute. Come on back here. The one time I actually get to tell him what to do, I'm going to take advantage of it. Let me just tell you that. How about a big round of applause for our sheriff? I would be completely remiss if I didn't say this, and they're probably all going to kill me, but there are several members of his team in the room, and every great leader will tell you that it's the team behind them that makes that cog in the wheel work. So let's give them all a great round of applause. Speaking of sheriffs and Marion County Commission, just so you all hear this loud and clear, we're finishing our budgets. And I just want you all to know that tentatively this year...
Why do you think I took her water?
So I don't know, I'm going to ask this question because I know that there's some of you that don't know. How many of you have been in Marion County for 5 years? Okay, keep your hands up. How many of you have been in Marion County? I should have started with 10 years. How many in 10 years? All right, if you've been here for 10 years, raise your hand. Oh, hey, 53. I just gave my age away. 5, 2, 1. How many of you have been here for 2 years or less? 2 years or less. I want Our jail is getting pretty near capacity. About 4 years ago, we were running around 1,000, 1,100 per day. We're at about 1,900. Are we at 2,000 yet, Sheriff?
We're at 1900.
1,900. So our guys and gals out there are working very, very hard, and we appreciate all the work they do. Now, let's get back to voting. I don't know if I should ask this question. I'd answer the question, so I guess I'll ask the question. How many of you are absentee voters? You know why I'm an absentee voter? You're gonna laugh. And it's just the political nature of me, I guess. I like to get all the mailers and giggle sometimes at some of the things I see on some of them. The only way you get some of those is if you're an absentee voter. How many are you voting on the day of? I'm an absentee voter, but I haven't voted yet. Day of. Day of. Wow. Wow, okay. No, this gentleman says that's the way it should be. So, one day, one vote. There you go. I usually go in on the day of too. Anyway, so it is extremely important that we do what on August the 23rd? And what else is it extremely important for us to do? Vote Republican. Heck yeah, I like that one.
Show our driver's license.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? If you're not a citizen of this country, you should not be voting. How about that? Now I'm going to get started on Border Patrol and what's happening at our border. It is horrible. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today because we could be down there for a very long time. So here's your challenge. Between now and August 23rd, I challenge each and every one of you to either call, email, text, however you like to communicate. But I challenge you to contact 10 people and make sure that they do what? Vote. Absolutely 100% vote. There is nothing else that matters. There's nothing more important. There's nothing that you can do as a citizen of the greatest nation, the United States of America, than exercise your right to vote. And so I want us to all look around and see how many people there are in this room right now. There's a lot of people in here. Do we have a count, Joe? You don't have a count. Okay, it's okay. I'm gonna get my clicker out.
700.
There's no reason why Marion County can't do much better than they've done in the past in voter turnout. There's no reason why we can't get that vote out and we don't become the shining star for the Republican Party of Florida. They should be coming here to do everything there is to do. Every representative should want to come to Marion County and talk to us because we are what? Republican strong, Marion County strong, and we know how to what? Vote. There you go. All right, so, have I used up all my time, Joe? All right. I'm so happy to have been able to see you all today. I know that you're all going to get out and vote. I know you're going to encourage 10 people. Remember, I've challenged everybody in this room to contact 10 people to make sure that they're going to get out and vote. And don't just call those people that you know are going to get out and vote. Call the people that you're not sure of. And if somebody needs a ride to the polls, offer to give them a ride to the polls. Let's make sure, we could shoot for 50% voter turnout. That'd be a very, very large goal. But let's see if we can surpass what we've done in the past. There's no reason we can't. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Kathy. By my count, Sheriff Woods has been our sheriff for over 5 years now. He is a product of Ocala Christian Academy and Columbia Southern University with roots in Marion County that go back at least 5 generations. We asked him to make a few remarks and to introduce Kat, Congresswoman Kamek, and we are delighted that he is with us today, Sheriff Billy Woods.
I'm usually shy. I don't like talking in front of everyone. Well, welcome. And those for 2 years and less, welcome to the greatest county in the state of Florida. And that is awesome to see that many new residents coming into the county. Obviously, this group of individuals are the right voters, right? Absolutely. I've been asked to hit 3 quick topics before I introduce a friend of mine. But first, Commissioner Bryant hit on a couple things, the budget coming up. And what I'd like to start saying, I appreciate each of the commissioners in which I have. They work with me on a regular basis. I'm not going to stand up here and give you the idea that we never argue. But the way I equate it to people, it's like brothers and sisters. I argued with my sister for 18 years, okay? But I love my sister. But I appreciate, each of them and what they do. Our current chair is Commissioner Zalek, and everything that he's sitting over here. And I appreciate everything that they step up when we work together to get those 50 positions. Being able to get 50 new deputies it's an awesome feeling for myself, and each of you should feel awesome in regards to that, because that's going to elevate the service in which we provide to you, being able to protect you. And protecting, and here's the biggest one, is coming in because the schools were mentioned. I want to thank Dr. Gullett, the school board, for working with me of protecting our children. For those of you who don't know, we have an SRO in every single one of our schools. We also supplement it with the Guardian program. And for those of you who don't know what the Guardian program is, simply put, it means it's a school staff member that have gone through the appropriate training through the sheriff. They're allowed to carry the gun on campus. So that's now y'all should know me. I love gun-toting people. I'm all about it. I told somebody in the lobby, I said, I already assumed that over 3/4 of the people in this room are carrying. I'm good. I definitely prefer more bullets going that way than coming this way. But we use the Guardian program to supplement. Everybody, most of y'all in this room know about Forest High School. We had a few years back. And by the grace of God, the individual did not kill a student. He did shoot and did hit a student. It was intended to kill the student, but by the grace of God, the only weapon, he was a dummy and only had one gun with him. The gun jammed, and so he wasn't able to engage any further in the assault. But however, we stopped him. Now, if you've been watching the news, for those that haven't, there's one other extra step that I worked with the school board and Dr. Gullett, the superintendent, is we will have a K-9 unit in our schools, and that K-9's job is to detect guns, ammunition, spent cases, the gun oils, and everything. And her sweet name is Albie. If you haven't seen her, she's a German short-haired pointer, the sweetest thing in the world. Now, she's already been at some of the summer sessions for the school district. She plays a vital role. My goal in this whole thing is that no gun will be brought onto campus. Now, I'm realistic. I know that they come onto campus. Okay, they do. But my hopes is that this program will stop it before it goes through the door. You know, I hope they know that when they see Albie and then the future dogs, because there's a second one coming, and my hopes is to have 4. And if I can convince Chairman Zalek to do this, I can get more dogs in there. But to get more dogs to protect our kids, because the one thing I'm not going to have is I usually call them something else, but I'll be polite today. But the dirtbag that wants to come on, their job, I want them to be stopped, and I want them to be shot dead. I don't want them going anywhere. So you should feel good about that. Our children are protected. I'll hit on one topic because the third topic is my segue into my friend that I get to introduce. The second topic is, and it's been somewhat mentioned, is our election integrity. Now, I'm not going to stand up and give you some grandeur that everything is perfect. There's nothing perfect in this world. I had a conversation earlier with my chief. There was 2 people on this planet many years ago. They had one rule to follow. They couldn't even follow that rule, and that's where we are today. But I'm here to ensure to each of you, Wesley Wilcox is the best supervisor of election in this entire state. He does everything in his ability, what allows him by law to protect what is coming in, what is done. He works with me on a regular basis. Now, obviously, I can't tell you some of the security measures that he and I work together on to ensuring that ballots get from one location to another without any issues. But I'm here to tell you that we work together to do our very best to ensure that that election is done the right way and that we don't have fraudulent elections, and I don't have everybody in 200 that has disappeared over the last few years voting when they're not even here. But however, be assured that we work hard, Wesley and myself work hard together. Then lastly, the border. Some of you have heard me speak. I had the privilege to go with Congresswoman to Texas, I think it's about 2 years now, a year and a half at least, over to the border into Texas. It was an eye-opener. And I know a lot of people question me, why did you go? I went because I need to know what's occurring. And let me tell you what's occurring in Marion County. Right now, currently, there are 66 overdose deaths in our county. Last year, I had 123 deaths. That's not overdoses. The overdose amount is enormous because we're constantly giving, I just went blank, Narcans, thank you. I know you all understand when I go blank. Yeah, right? Go ahead, smile. You know it's true, don't deny it. But however, 66 currently, right now, today, overdose deaths. Now, I've got 8 of those that are pending the toxicology from the ME's office, so that makes 56. 51 of the 56 were fentanyl related. The nearest narcotic to that drug was methamphetamine, which was 31. Now, a lot of those drugs that are in their systems through the toxicology reports, fentanyl is being laced. Fentanyl is being laced on every known drug that has ever been used by anyone. Even marijuana is being laced. And they've even stepped it up to one degree that they are making it where it is straight fentanyl. Now, I'm pretty sure Kat's going to give you a little bit of a picture of how much destructive that has. I'm here to also tell you, we're currently working, and we've worked numerous cases. We've done numerous search warrants. The drug unit has made numerous drug arrests off of the cartel that are coming across the border. The fentanyl and the drugs are freely going across the border right now. They were when I was there a year and a half ago. They're doing it now. And there's no measures in place to stop and protect you that's going on. Because do not think for 1 second that what is going on at the border does not affect you. As she eloquently put it, Every town is a border town. I'm here to tell you, citizens, we've arrested them. I give you even personal testimony. 2 houses down from me. One morning I'm leaving and going to work. Homeland Security is at the property 2 down from mine. I stop in to check. I'm always curious if the feds are in my county doing something. Very welcoming, say, Sheriff, how are you? They obviously knew who I was, and I wanted to say, well, they didn't give me a call. So. But however, the individual that was on that property was directly related to cartel, and they were there to arrest him and deport him right back to Mexico. So good for them. I was like, he's next to me, get his ass out of here. But they are here. And Marion is a hub for them. Now, I'm not here to scare you, but I'm here to tell you that it is an issue. The border is a problem. It is a very serious problem. And kudos to Texas Governor who's putting them on the front porch of the area. But when the Congresswoman took, my eyes were opened wide. I learned a lot, not only what was coming across the border, and we could spend hours. And some of y'all have heard me talk on that particular subject. It's scary, it's frightening. It leaves you speechless of what's occurring. My eyes were open. I learned the tactics of the cartel. I learned the tactics of law enforcement along the Texas border and what they do to combat it. So it helped me, which in turn helped you, to protect you the best way that I can, with every means available, so that Commissioner Bryant, Commissioner Zalek, Commissioner Stone, Commissioner Curry, I almost forgot him, that they know what I need to protect you, and that's what we're all about. So, now talking about the border and this visit, Congresswoman Kemick called me and said, hey, Sheriff, I got an idea. I want to go to the border and I want to take some sheriffs. I said, oh, okay. So we get closer and closer. I was kind of sliding her to the side, and she kept pushing. And then I said, well, Commissioner, Congresswoman, I've got a budget hearing or workshop that day that I can't miss. She goes, okay. Next thing, the chair at that time, Commissioner Gold, that's the one I forgot. Commissioner Gold calls me and says, hey, look, just so you know, Congresswoman Kemick called, and we're going to move that workshop. I said, lovely, Jeff, thank you so much. So myself and some sheriffs and one chief, one lonely chief, which was our chief of Ocala, who went with us to the border. Now, Congresswoman Kemick, if I was to say she was the Energizer Bunny, I would say that I'm lying. That would be more like the 90-plus senior citizens category than Energizer Bunny compared to Congresswoman Kemick. Congresswoman Kemick, as soon as we got off the plane, had us in 9th gear, non-stop to 2, 3 in the morning, and then a little extra past that. To the point that me and one other old fart of a sheriff, last day at 2 a.m. said, we're done. We got to get on a plane at 6 a.m. And they kept going. But here's the fact. An individual like Congresswoman Kemick reminds me of individuals when the birth of this nation was, when they stood up and said, I will not tolerate, I will not stand for an oppressive king at that time. She is an individual that we need in Washington, D.C. She pushes back on the woke portion of Washington, D.C. Congresswoman Kemick stands up for law enforcement. She has given me the honor, and in my lifetime, I thought nothing like this would ever occur for me, simple old country boy in Marion County, Florida, Billy Woods. She 3 times had my name on the congressional records in Washington, D.C. One time she described me as a man of grit. John Wayne comes into mind, so... She said I was a man of grit. I have nothing compared to her. She is my dearest friend and my congresswoman. So please allow me to introduce to you Congresswoman Kat. Come on.
Oh goodness, I'm 5'3" and this thing's as tall as I am. How are y'all doing? Oh my goodness. This is amazing. This is amazing. And Billy, Sheriff, you're in the congressional record 3 times because you are the best dang sheriff that I have ever known. And it is an honor and a privilege to know you, my friend. Thank you. But now, as you're walking away, are you going to do your John Wayne walk?
No.
You thought about it for a second. You know, it's funny, and we talk about that border trip and how crazy it was and how heartbreaking and infuriating that border trip was. But there was something pretty remarkable that came out of it. Billy came back speaking Spanish. Samantha, his wife, who I adore, she's just a firecracker, and I love her to death. She sees me and Billy one day, and I was like, "Hey, Sheriff," he's like, "Hola." I feel like I'm telling all your secrets. Well, it is an honor and a privilege to be here this afternoon. I am Kat Kamak, I am your Congresswoman, and I am Nancy Pelosi's least favorite member. You know, she doesn't greet me like that. She really doesn't, and actually, we're supposed to be here for a whole month. And you know what she did? She's calling us back. I have to go catch a plane after this. And I guarantee you, she is not going to greet me like that. And that's all right. That's okay. Because you know what? She's trying to pass a bill on Friday. That's when we really start the voting, right? But we're debating up until that point. She's trying to pass a bill to sick 87,000 IRS agents on us. So, you know, if she didn't like me before, she's really not going to like me when I'm with her on Friday. You know? I cannot tell you how proud I am of our district, our communities, our neighborhoods, our people who have stood up. They've gotten involved, and they said, we're not going to take it anymore. Because that's really what it has come to. If you're not involved, you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Because it's the apathy that has let this country go wild, right? Right? It's people who just, they weren't paying attention. But everybody in this room here today, I know y'all are paying attention, right? And when I say that our country is at stake, this election is the most important election of our lifetime, we all know that to be true, right? You see what they just did to President Trump 2 days ago. What do you think they're going to do to you and me? My friend, the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, Scott Perry, he had 3 FBI agents come and take his phone from him. They wouldn't even allow him to call his lawyer. This is what happens when big government takes over. This is what happens when you have a federal agency become weaponized against the people that it is designed to serve. And I don't know about you, but I have had enough. Enough. You know, I've had the pleasure of serving for about a year and a half as your representative. Well, actually, since it's been redistricting, I think some of you I have had the pleasure of being your voice in Washington, but there's a whole bunch of people who are now in District 3. And I call us the Fighting Third, right? Florida's 3rd Congressional District, the Fighting Third, the Gator Nation. There we go. Oh, I see a gator. There we go. There we go. There's always one. Some Seminoles back here like. But in that year and a half that I've had the pleasure to serve, I wanted to share some of what we've learned, but what your team, because that's what we are, we're your team, we work for you. I want you to hear what your team has been doing on your behalf in our nation's capital. And I'll start with something that is not a headline grabber, but I think it's really important. How many veterans are in this room? Thank you. How many spouses or family members of veterans are in this room? Thank you. Thank you. Our team, your team, has been able to recover over $6 million in back pay and benefits for our veterans and our seniors that was owed to them and being held hostage by federal agencies. And we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the disastrous withdrawal out of Afghanistan. Regardless of how you felt about Afghanistan, my brother served. I know a lot of people in this room have family members that served or served themselves. But regardless of how you feel, at the end of the day, we are Americans and we leave no one behind, right? Well, not only did we leave people behind, but 13 service members lost their lives because of the sheer incompetence out of, I can't even call him the commander-in-chief, he is the trafficker-in-chief. When he, yeah. I may use a different word, but after that withdrawal, it was a disaster and so many people got left behind. Your team, both in Washington and here at home, they took it upon themselves to make sure that they were going to do everything that they could to get our folks home. And so to date, working weekends, working nights, working with retired military, working to get our people home, to date in a single year, your team has been able to get 1,217 Americans and their families home. And on top of it, they managed to get 148 military service dogs with them. And it blows my mind that people still are listening to the media when the media says, well, there's no Americans that got left behind. That's a lie. And our team has proven it every day with every single new family that they get home. They're proving that the media has been covering it up on behalf of the Biden regime every step of the way. And so you should take extreme pride in knowing that you have a group of patriots. And I'm not saying it for me, I'm saying it for our team in the back. He's standing right back there. Josh, wave your hand. He's shy. We have team members here with us today, like Josh and Reba, who have been with us working, and they're the ones that are really making this happen. But they do this every day, and you're never going to hear about it on the news. You're never going to see it in the paper, because the media, all they want to do is distract us with the shiny objects, right? Because that's the MO. That's what we've seen. We're seeing it this week. The FBI raids President Trump's home. Look here, look here. And it's my goal and my job to get in their way. Every step of the way. I like this energy. She's got tiger blood energy up here. That's infectious. I like that.
Let's go pregnant.
I love it. I love seeing all the Trump hats in the audience. I love seeing all the MAGA hats. You know, it's funny. President Trump has endorsed me twice to run for this office. Yes. And I saw him about 2 weeks ago. And it was kind of funny because I'm 5'3", right? And he's almost 6'3". He's about 6'2" and change. And so I see him and he comes up to me, and y'all are gonna laugh. He's like, "Get." And I was like, "Yes, Mr. President." And he says, "You're doing such a great job. It's beautiful. It's just huge how you're doing it. It's just beautiful. It's wonderful." And the hands are going, and I'm looking up at him. And then he gets smart and realizes that I am, in fact, short. And so he comes next to me and he goes, and he meets me at eye level. I said, "Thank you." And I said, "Mr. President, you're doing wonderful. We're looking forward to having you back. And sir, your hair is a mess." And he's like, "Is it really?" I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're gonna fix that, and then we're gonna fix the tie because it was crooked." And it's funny. And he's like, "Oh, these people, they're just yes men. They always just tell me what I want to hear. But thank you for telling me about my hair." No, it's funny, and it's actually a true story. It happened a couple weeks ago. But you know, it's crazy. For as much vitriol and attacks that this man has sustained, not just during his presidency, but after, against his family, his kids, he is like Teflon. He doesn't let it get it down. He still smiles. He still laughs. And he doesn't carry it with a chip on his shoulder. His love for this country is absolute. And I see it every single time that I see him. And so while we know that what happened 2 days ago is wrong, unprecedented, and will absolutely be investigated, take heart knowing that he doesn't let it get to him. He will not falter in his love and commitment to this country. Seriously. And you know, there's a lot of questions about what are Republicans going to do? I get asked that all the time. I got stopped in the grocery store. Everyone calls me the chicken lady in the grocery store. I think it's always because I get stopped when I'm like near the dairy aisle and there's eggs, right? Of course, I have chicken, so I don't need to buy eggs. They're expensive now. I know, thanks, Biden. Man, you can't walk down the sidewalk without tripping over one of his messes. But no, they call me the chicken lady. They're like, "You're the chicken lady. I see your commercials." And I said, "Yeah." But they say, you know, I'm so frustrated. And I hear this all the time. I'm so frustrated. What are Republicans going to do? What are conservatives going to do when they get the House back?
Get rid of Pelosi.
Number one, we get to retire Nancy Pelosi. I am so dang excited about that. I'm going to get to that, don't worry. So one, we're going to change leadership, okay? Two, we actually, for the first time, somebody's got a jazz or a samba thing going on their phone. You didn't think I was gonna call you out, did I? You don't have to run. Is it the president calling? You know, that actually happened once. I was giving a speech, and my phone goes off, and there's a blocked number that comes up, but it comes up very weird when he calls. And I saw it, and I was like, if I answer this and put it on the mic, I don't want to get in trouble. And I missed his call. Yeah, so I was like, oh, well. But anyway, so one, for the first time in a long time, we're gonna actually go into this election with a plan. Okay? Remember when we had the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives and all those big ticket items didn't get done? That's not gonna happen. So first and foremost, accountability. Accountability. Hunter Biden, we're coming for you. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. We're gonna impeach his ass. I'm sorry, I know I wasn't supposed to say that word, but that man has lied. He has put our nation at risk. He continues to just absolutely destroy every last shred of sovereignty that our nation has. And when he called me rude and disrespectful for asking questions, as a good member of Congress would, and then he had his feelings hurt because a woman said, you know what, I don't appreciate your tone, Secretary. He said, well, Congresswoman, you're being quite rude. Well, I let him have it. There is going to be an investigation into a litany of the double standards, the laws that have been broken, and the laws that have been subverted. This has been needing to happen for years. For years. There's been a double set of standards. Yeah, there's been a double set of standards in this country. Remember when Hillary Clinton deleted 33,000 emails? She said, I didn't intend to do that. That's like me saying, Sheriff, I didn't intend to drive 110 miles an hour down 200. You're gonna lock me up, right? Yep. You answered that way too quick, Sheriff. See, I blew his secret about speaking Spanish, and here we are. Now, there is going to be the most aggressive oversight activity in Congress that I think we've seen in decades. Every committee is going to be an oversight committee. There will be so many questions answered and asked that Americans have been demanding, but Washington has been too chicken crap to actually ask. So rest assured, there will be accountability, but more importantly, consequences. That's the first order of business. From there, it gets pretty simple. 2, we are going to secure the dang border. The third thing that we're going to do is we're going to lower gas prices. And finally, we're going to get government out of our lives, out of our bedrooms, out of our churches, out of our businesses, out of our lives, period. We are cutting the size of government. Yes. We can get that done. We will get that done because we're not only taking back the House, we're taking back the Senate as well. Yes, we are. For a long time, I didn't hear what you said, but hold tight. I don't. You know, I hear that a lot about that. There's been that fight back and forth. Remember we had the House, the Senate, and the White House. And we didn't get things done, and it was because there was this inner fighting going on, right? We all have families, some of them more dysfunctional than others, right? And you're not always gonna get along. Heck, I don't agree with my husband on everything. Bless his heart. I'm married to a firefighter and a SWAT medic. Bless his heart. He doesn't do politics. He likes his guns, and he likes to stay out of politics and just say, hey, leave me alone. That's his deal. He's a wonderful man with a great heart for public service, but he's like us. Just stay out of my life. You know, let me live my life. And so, when we talk about the dynamics in Washington, and how there's this family dynamic of Republicans of all different stripes and colors and shapes and sizes, right? At the end of the day, we need Republicans to be united. We need to be united. I know that there's a lot of folks that say, I want to take on this group, or I want to take on that group. Folks, I've seen Nancy Pelosi in action, up close and personal. She rules the House floor with an iron fist. If we don't have Republicans united, if we fracture, we give the left the wins that they want. And I will not help Democrats win. I'm not interested in that. And so we have to work harder to stay engaged, to stay in the fight. You know, remember last fall when Joe Biden wanted the Build Back Better agenda on the table? I called it Build Back Broke, right? $5.8 trillion is what they wanted to spend. $5.8 trillion. We mobilized Republicans and we mobilized our people. And thousands, hundreds of thousands of phone calls lit up the Capitol switchboard, and it scared the ever-living bejesus out of the Democrats in Washington, to the point that they pulled it from the House floor. It never came up for a vote. It never came up for a vote. And do you hear about that in the news? It's because the media doesn't want you to know. They don't want you to know that conservatives around the country were actually winning. They were actually beating the Democrats at their own game. So when we look at this vote this Friday, this new version of Build Back Broke, with IRS agents and AOC's Green New Deal, God bless her heart. Whew. We're in the South. We know what that means. You know, I said that to somebody. They were from up north, and I just said, "Bless your heart." They said, "Thank you." I like to call that tact. But you look at what we got coming up this Friday. We have an opportunity, and we've been putting out the call. Call your representatives. Now, y'all are in this room. You can call me. That's okay. You know I'm voting no. But we have to get our friends, our families. We've got to get them involved. Put the pressure on the Dems. We only need 4 votes. 4. There are more vulnerable Democrats in this country right now that are scared to death of losing their seats. Let's make this the most difficult vote that they ever cast. We can do that by calling, and it takes 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes. I'm telling you, as we speak, the Capitol switchboard is getting lit up. There is a coordinated effort right now where people are calling Washington, D.C., calling members of Congress and saying, vote no. And you know what the crazy part is? I've actually had members from the other party. I've had Democrats come up to me on the House floor, and of course they got to whisper it to me. They said, hey, I just want to say thank you. I said, for what? And they said, we got a bunch of phone calls in our office, and when they went around checking to see where everybody was going to be on this vote, I had over 2,000 phone calls in one day, and I was able to tell Speaker Pelosi that I couldn't do it, that people were lighting my phones up. It's the cover that they're looking for. They're looking for a lifeline. Let's give them a lifeline. We can stop this. We can stop the weaponization of our federal agencies. We can stop the taxes. We can stop this. But it's going to take every single one of us. I know that you're frustrated. I feel it. I'm frustrated too. But knowing that we have a plan, knowing that we have the good guys on our side, knowing that we have each other. I know that may sound a little Pollyanna-ish, but I do believe that we are in this together. I feel like nothing is impossible. I don't think that the best days of America are behind us. I grew up being told that I could do anything that I wanted to do because I was blessed to have been born and raised in America. Politics wasn't on my radar. I didn't grow up wanting to be a congresswoman. I actually wanted to grow up and be a businesswoman. I even carried around a purple briefcase. It was plastic. And I called my company the Great Big Company. I had dreams to build things and be in business. And I had to work really, really hard in order to just even set myself on that path. You know, growing up, I'm the daughter of a single mom. First in my family to go to college. And when we lost everything, a month before I was set to graduate, and we became homeless, I thought that for a minute, everything was lost. But then I remembered, I live in America. And nothing's impossible in America. Yeah. And so because of this incredible, crazy, wild experiment that we have conducted and what free men and women can do when they are empowered, when the government recognizes that the rights and freedoms don't come from government, but from God. That's right. And as hard as they try to erase that, we know what's up. Because of this country, someone like me was able to go from homeless to the House of Representatives in under a decade. That doesn't happen anywhere else in this planet. And that's truthfully why I believe that despite the fact that we are in a corner with our backs up against the wall, I feel like that is all the more reason why we are going to see the greatest renaissance in American history. Because we do our best work when we're up against it. We do our best work when the chips are down. It's because we're gritty, we're scrappy, we're fighters, we are the underdogs. Our movies talk about this. The world is rooting for us. God is rooting for us. And it is against our very nature as Americans and as God-fearing people to quit. So are we going to quit? No! Are we going to fight?
Yes!
Woo! I'm going to take you up to DC with me and introduce you to Nancy.
Take her to the border!
Is that you, Sheriff? Folks, I truly believe that we have incredible days ahead of us. The fights today are hard, the days are long, but it is so worth it in the end. So join me in standing up and fighting back and taking our country back. We've got this, so let's go do it. God bless. Oh, I'm sweating. It's hot. All right, I think I'm supposed to answer some questions now. Hot seat. He's gonna yell.
Use the mic.
I'll repeat it for you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Next time we'll put the table over there or the lectern over here. All right. Congresswoman Cannon, the first question regards safeguards. What safeguards are in place to ensure that the machines used to tally our votes are calculating the exact vote count, and afterwards those counts